do it every time. Good afternoon, Corona Daze Professional Development Group. It's me, Danette Edwards. I'm here today with Charisse Fonts, and she is going to talk to us today. She has a message to give us about from layoff to laughter. And, I'm going to turn it over to her immediately because she could tell you about herself better than I can. So I'm going to do that and mute myself. Here we go.
Hi guys, I hope you guys are well. Just sending you guys all light, love, and gratitude. I'm Charisse Fonts, and I live in the Bay Area. I'm a founder of a company that helps startups build healthy and inclusive cultures. I'm also an active birth doula. I help women birth their babies. I work with families in that way. I'm a mother of 5. And my oldest is 16. My youngest is 1.5 years. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. A lot of my thought leadership comes from talking about people and culture. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm definitely down to talk about birth. I have a couple of things that I'm working on that I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. And I have a couple giveaways, and I'm super excited to engage with you guys today. Okay, so I'm gonna get into talking a little bit about the story Layoff to Laughter. And in fact, it wasn't very funny in the beginning. So my story starts pretty sad. I was homeless with 2 kids. So I had my 2 boys, and I was also pregnant with a 3rd. And we had went through the whole entire homeless cycle. So usually start off in the motels, then they put you in a hotel, and then you go to the shelter. And it was at the shelter that it really started to become really real for me. And at that time I didn't have a job. So I was sharing a bathroom with a family of 5, and very much getting towards the end of my pregnancy. I was about 4.5, 5 months pregnant. I luckily was able to get a job at that time. I think that in itself was just a lot of work. I have job logs that I've shared on LinkedIn that have just all completed with the jobs that I would apply for, and it was really rough. I mean, every day I would go to the computer and I would apply for job, and whatever interview I did get, I kind of sometimes mess that up. I would be like, oh, well, I'm expecting. And then like, oh, we'll call you, later. And so, which never happened. But as I was approaching my 5th month, I was able to get a job at this amazing biotech company. And that was actually a very big moment for me because I realized that I had walked into a really good culture. And not to say the other companies that I didn't work for wasn't a good culture, but for me, it just felt different. They treated me different. The questions were just kind. And I remember what I wore, and it was just so interesting. So it was like a really eye-opening thing for me. And I think it laid the foundation for me to want to create environments for other people like that. So it really layered that interest of culture. And then I had to tell my manager that I was pregnant. I didn't tell them in the interview. And when I did, my manager was just like, oh my gosh, whatever we can do to help, and was super excited. So I was 5 months at that time, still living in the homeless transition, and nobody knew that. So I went through the job, ended up having the baby. And I was in what was called transitional housing at that time, but still under the shelter umbrella, which was great. So I didn't have to give birth and then bring my baby back to the shelter, which was very helpful. And then as I started to work, I started to get more jobs, and this was a contract. So then I moved. I was getting ready to end the contract. Unfortunately, they weren't able to extend it. But my manager, who was probably one of the best managers I've ever had, said, Charisse, find a job that fits you, that fits your personality, that you love doing. And I'm a gamer. My whole family are gamers. My kids are gamers. We've been on the Atari to the Nintendo, and PlayStation's kind of our thing. So I remember looking for a job, and PlayStation had reached out to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my dream job. I'm going to live and die at PlayStation. This is it. And I worked in the multimedia department, so I was making and assisting with game trailers. So it was super exciting for me. And I remember getting to the point where I now had a steady paycheck and moving out of the transitional housing because there was only so much time that you could spend in there. And I ended up going and finding someone that would rent a place to me. And I had really bad credit or no credit, just wasn't the best like on paper. But she's like, I'm gonna take a chance on you. And so we were able to get an apartment in San Mateo, which was really awesome. And I'm working this job and I'm like, this is amazing. And then something weird happened. The director of my department started to meet with everybody in the department. And it was my turn to meet with him. And he was like, yeah, I'm just meeting with everybody, getting to know everyone. And I asked him, I said, okay, so is my job safe? Am I okay? And he looked at me in the eye and said, your job is fine. No need to worry. Don't worry about anything. And I kid you not, on 11/11/11, which are transformational numbers of transition, I got a call from the HR department at Sony and at PlayStation, and they said, your job is done. Like, you've been laid off. And I cannot tell you, I can remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember how I was sitting, what was in the room with me, and I just cried. I literally I cried for a good 10 minutes before I called my mom. And then I cried for another like 20 minutes on the phone with my mom. And what was going through my head was like, I have 3 kids. I barely just got out of the shelter. I don't want to go back to that. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. And after I got all the tears out of my system, I said, okay, what do I really want? How do I want this story to unfold? And I did feel a little bit of bitterness, and I was very sad and very fearful, but I was like, okay, I don't have time to sit in this right now. I got to figure out what to do next. And, I joke a lot about the numbers 11/11/11, but they mean transition spiritually. And I was like, okay, this is no coincidence. And so I ended up joining a startup. It was a month later, and it was the startup that literally changed my life and put me on this trajectory. The pay was good. The people were awesome. The things that I was able to do was game changing. I remember at one point I put together an advisor dinner for this startup, and I remember sitting in the room of this dinner at the table with these advisors, and I'm like, there's probably like $1 billion in this room right now. And I was just so floored because, 6, 7 months ago, I would have never imagined, that being possible, going through the full, and nobody really knew my story. I didn't really talk very openly about where I was. So nobody knew that I was homeless, or nobody knew that I was in transitional housing. It was one of those things that when I look back on being laid off, it was just one of the most devastating things for me, not only because I had believed that, my job was good, everything was fine, but my circumstance. And so I was able to, once I was able to get into the startup and see full circle where everything was going, I looked back at that time and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so glad that I was able to, that season had ended. And for me, one of the most challenging things with layoffs is sometimes you never really see them coming, and you never accept what season you're in during that time. And the thing about relationships, whether it's a job relationship or a human relationship, or just any kind of relationship, we just never know when that is ending. We know it ends, but we never know when that's ending. And so for me, not knowing when that was going to end, and not even knowing where everything was going to come from, was one of my biggest challenges. But I kid you not, it was it was a lot of, everything worked out really well. I don't think I could have painted a better picture or asked for a better position that came out of my layoff. So I understand that everyone has a different situation, and I know that layoffs have really kicked up over the last few months, and I've talked to a few people when everything had started with the layoffs, and there was a few things that I had shared with them, and one of them was give yourself some space, and then also pay attention to where your bitterness is. Sometimes being laid off can leave us bitter, and that can also keep us from moving to that next chapter or that next phase. And so for me, I've done with any relationship that has ended maybe in a sour note, I try to do my best to forgive and release bitterness and wonder more so not why did this happen to me, but what is my response supposed to be to this? And when you're in the middle of it, it is very challenging. Trust me, my mom has been my therapist, my go-to, and I mean, to take flashbacks talking about it of me sitting on the bed getting that call is just really big. But I realized that it puts me in a really good position to hold space for other people that have gone through the same thing, and to really speak to some of the resources that are out there to help assist, and just making sure that even in this time you gravitate towards healthy, lit up humans that can really feed back into your well-being. So where does the laughter come in? So I think, now I laugh a lot, but back then it wasn't very funny. And one of the things that I used to do, there was two things. I would do my best to find something that would make me laugh. And so I had these wonderful kids. And one of the things that we would do is like just family dance party. Because no matter where we were, whether we were in the motel or the hotel or the shelter, if I put on music, we could just dance. And it just seemed to, they would laugh, then I would laugh. And it just helped ease a lot of the things going on. So one of the things that I would suggest is if you've been laid off, find anything that you can to just raise your vibration a little bit higher with laughter. That's, I think, going to be very, very key. And the other thing that I did, this is so random, and I don't know if everyone's going to have access to be able to do this with limited access with COVID going on, but this is something that really helped me. When I got laid off, I felt a absolute sense of no control. I was like, I have no control over where my money's going. Coming from, I have no control over whether we are going to, have enough food for groceries. And so one of the weird things that I would do is I would go to a department store like a Ross or TJ Maxx, and I would go in there and I would get a cart, and I would start at the front of the store, and whatever I saw that I wanted, I would put in the cart. And then I would take the cart to the back and I would just leave. I would leave the cart there and then leave the store. And what that did was it gave me a sense of control. It was weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it really helped me with just being able to process where I was, because I felt like I was in such a low place. But to be able to just kind of shop without, worrying about, oh no, I can't do that, with no restrictions, was just so therapeutic for me. So in addition to the dance parties and my random like weird shopping experiences that I like to think also created jobs, it was one of those things that really helped me get through that piece. And looking back on it, it's created a really deep EQ for me as I have been in the world of people ops and HR. So whenever there are layoffs that come up or conversations of them, I'm very, very mindful of how we operate and execute those out, because I've been on the other side of that. And it's really about creating a culture where you can make sure you can be 100% honest with your people. Had that director said, we're looking at layoffs, you're kind of still new, we don't know what your job security is gonna be, I probably wouldn't have taken it as hard. I would have been like, oh, okay, Well, you did kind of tell me, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I do believe in giving people honest feedback. And I think for me, what really hurt too was just the fact that I was told my job was safe. And for me, that was really big because I needed a job to keep the place that I had. Um, I think that without knowing your situation, I I want to just speak life into you right now. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know if you are homeless. I don't know if you're worried about being homeless. I don't know what this, if you have kids or whatever it is, but I can tell you that there is something deeper and bigger out there. I know that, and it's not just in the form of a job, it's in the form of your journey, of your life, your purpose. Something is directly tied to that. And I can tell you from experience that the hardest part of life is not the changes that we go through, but it's the transition. I like to talk about birth a lot, so bear with me. When you are about to give birth, when the baby is about to come out, you go through one of the toughest parts of birth, and it's called the transition. And it's that part where you can't get that epidural. It's that part that no one can help you with. It is isolating. It is frustrating. You don't know why. You're just, well, why did I even do this? And before you know it, you have the baby. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, there we go. You went through that transition. And in our lives, we are going through transition after transition. And it's a change we can breeze by. But that transition, that between a haircut phase, is so uncomfortable. And we often feel alone. And even though your circumstance is different or might be different than someone else's, you're not alone. And I think that this networking group and what Danette has put together is key. Finding community, finding someone that will speak life and give you uplifting resources are really helpful. And, had I not been laid off, I most likely would not be a doula. I most not likely will not be transforming workplace cultures to be healthy and inclusive for people. I most likely would not be speaking to you right now. And so I look back on that side of my journey and really am just grateful that I went through that experience so I can hold space for others. And I'm also very resourceful because of that, finding ways to make sure that our dollars go deeper with finding food banks and just kind of having those resources at hand. One thing that was also very instrumental that I want to speak to was I was a part of this program called WANDA, and it's in Silicon Valley, and they help single mothers with financial literacy. And Wanda was like my partner. Wanda was like if I needed a resource, I would go to the Wanda group and they would help me. And so just power and community, that ancient African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And really just finding those people that you can commune with and talk to. And be mindful of commiserating, right? You guys might all have the same feelings, but you need someone that's going to come in and uplift you and take you to that next level. So you're able to go to bigger and better. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if Danette wants to stop, or if I'm going to continue. I want to share the gifts that I have for anyone that's interested.
Okay, I'm here. Let me get on video. So it's up to you. Do you want to do your gifts, or do you want to take some questions? Up to you.
Let's take some questions. Let's do that.
All right. So guys on Facebook, drop your questions. And so I have one question here. Creating a culture where you can be honest with people. How are you doing that in your works? Can you tell us a little about the work you do?
Yes. So I'm also a self-taught anthropologist. I left that out in the beginning. So I study cultures, religions, and tribes. And so I take that anthropological knowledge and transfer that into the workplace as the modern day tribe. And so when it comes to is more the trust, how to create that trust or that communication, I look at what's been currently communicated and if it aligns with, what the culture is perceiving. And if there are any gaps, I help address that. And it's more so just calling those things out. It's easier when you're not in the culture to bring that to light. So my job is really kind of easy. And that way I'm like, well, you said this, but this is the action. There's a disconnect there. And thus it's going to cause the culture to not fully trust you. And, it's really interesting, and I help with the change management process of that, which makes sure that there is integrity and accountability to the words that are being spoken, so trust can be cultivated within the space. Now, let's say a leader has lost someone's trust. I can work on that too. And it really does come with letting the ego down, kind of removing the title for a second and using your humanity. So that's very key to making sure that you're building that legacy of trust with your team within a culture.
And when you were homeless and you were in a shelter, you said you had two children and you were expecting one.
Yes.
How old were your children?
So, okay. So my oldest was 5 and my youngest was 2. And I remember that very clearly because there was a stomach flu that went through the shelter and he got it. My 2-year-old got it. And I remember just being up with him, and I didn't end up getting it, but it went through the entire shelter. So those were the ages, and the boys are 3 years apart.
How old are they now?
16 and 13.
Wow, you do not look like you have a 16-year-old, but
Lots
okay,
of water.
I'll give you that.
Lots of water and plants.
Water and what? And plants? Plants, yeah, this is the new thing, plants. Okay, can you give us some examples of, so you gave us the family dance party and laughing and putting some things in the cart. Can you give us some other examples of how people might raise their vibration?
Yes. Well, then I'm going to segue into
the giveaways.
The giveaway. So,
okay.
Well, this is one way. So
Okay.
I'll give you guys the long, short backstory to this.
Okay.
So, coming out of being homeless, I've also experienced domestic abuse. I've also experienced sexual assault, and I've, I kind of go down like, yep, I've gone through that. I've gone through that. I've gone through that. So I had a lot of stuff going on with me personally. And what would happen is every 3 months, I would go through this sort of breakdown. Like I would literally think the world is ending. I would call my mom. She'd be on the phone with me for hours. And it would things would be fine, but I would just have this breakdown. Eventually I was like, okay, this can't continue to happen. This is just setting me back. And I found someone in the area that I lived in that did meditation. And I called her and I said, hey, this is what's going on with me. And she's like, hey, just come for a free class and check it out. I went to the meditation on Thursday, went back another Thursday. And ever since then, I never had another one of these breakdowns. Do I lose it sometimes? Yes, I do. And then I come back to center. But it's nothing as these every 3 months type of thing. So through my study of meditation with this grandmaster, I learned about the power of your words and how your words carry power. There's life and death in the tongue. Just what you say carries a vibration. You can either encourage someone with your words or you can discourage someone. And so I learned about affirmations. And you guys can't see it. I'm going to actually do like a Zen office tour of my place so you guys can, so we can share it. But I have my meditation center over here and my vision boards. And then in front of me, I have a bunch of powerful affirmation words. So if I'm, need to just look up, like I can see something. So one says, just begin and let it bloom. And you are lovely, just all of these cool things. And then I have some affirmations over here. So I'm a huge fan of affirmations and speaking positivity. And so I think one of the things that was really instrumental that I learned in my Wanda group was setting goals, but then also setting goals that had positive words with them, which included affirmations. So one thing that anyone can do, doesn't matter what your situation is, you can say an affirmation. You don't necessarily even need to believe it right now. That's not the point of the affirmation. Eventually you want to get there, but saying the affirmation, repeating it to yourself is so big. So when all the layoffs happened, starting like around February and March, I spent a lot of time with people that had been laid off and just navigating them through 6 steps that I felt were really helpful. And I can share that with the group. I'll send it to you, Danette, and you
Yes,
can
we'd
send
like
it out to
that.
them. And I also have it on podcast if you don't want to read it, so I can send that as
Perfect.
well. But one of the things that was really key was just noticing that when I spoke life into them, it was like, okay, I can do this. And so I've been trying to figure out since then, what can I do to help? And I was like, okay, affirmations are key. People are looking for jobs, job formations. So putting it together. And so what I'd love to gift away to anyone that's interested, you gotta let me know that you're interested, is I want to gift you with 50 powerful affirmations for job seekers. And
Oh,
these are affirmations. They're super colorful. You can see them. And they're small enough to fit in your purse or wallet, or post them up on walls in your room or on your laptop or on your water bottle. Well, probably not your water bottle. They don't fit in that well, but like on your refrigerator, just take some tape. And this one says, "My new job is a blessing and I am grateful."
oh, I love
And
it.
or one I really like is, "I'm working in a healthy workplace culture." And you just say these affirmations, pick the ones that you love the most, and say maybe 3 to 4 a day with some breathing. And just know that your affirmation leads to a manifestation. It
Yes.
leads. You are pulled in the direction of your biggest thought. You are pulled. Your life is guided in that direction. And so there's been so many studies done on affirmations and the power of affirmations and things like that. And so I've put together 50 powerful job affirmations for job seekers. And then pairing with that, because sometimes, it's like, okay, well, I have a job interview and saying this stuff is great, but I need a little bit more,
Action.
I need to add some more tactical to it. This book, 60 Seconds and You're Hired, this is a newer copy, but this book literally changed how I interviewed. It was so instrumental for me. And it was, one of the questions that would stump me is like, what are your strengths or what are your weaknesses? And I'm like, my weakness, oh my gosh, like, how do I describe to you my weakness in a way where you're not going to think it's weak, So
I love
right.
it.
So this book was so instrumental, and I'm giving this book away, gifting this book away with the affirmations. But wait, there's more.
Okay. All right.
Because I love culture so much, and I believe that everyone deserves a happy and healthy workplace culture. Doesn't mean everything is perfect, but the culture, you can feel that. I've put together over 50 culture hitting questions that I wish I would have asked.
Yeah.
And it's everything from leadership to COVID to inclusion to
Yeah.
benefits, things that I wish I would have known that it would have changed my decision.
Yes.
So I'm putting all of this together, gifting it away to anyone that wants it. I just need your address, and I'm not going to use it for anything else, and your email. And I'll send these out to you guys. And these are really beautiful cards. And my hope is that while I'm not in the position to solve anyone's current situation, what I am able to do is speak life. I am able to give from a space that has no boundaries. I am able to at any moment sacrifice any one of my experiences to help someone else and to show them that you can get through this. You have the ability. If that whole saying, if I can do it, you can do it. Literally, if I can do this, you can do this. And being laid off is not the end. In some ways, it's the beginning. And so I like to just be able to offer these to people that need help. I already have 3 people that are interested, which is great. And so I'm very excited, but I'm also just, that's my way of being able to give during a time where we really need a lot of our unity to show.
Yeah, and those are great giveaways. I will order the cards. You made the cards? So I want to support you. So I will order them. So you let me know how to order a deck for me.
Okay.
And I love that you gave those as giveaways. Okay, let me see what I have here. So it says, you have experienced a lot and worked so hard to reach your current achievements. Do you ever have struggles feeling good about yourself when dealing with people who are not on that journey with you? For example, people that you were not necessarily dealing with anymore. This includes friends or family.
Yeah. Oh man. I've had to learn the hard way. I will tell you that one of the things that I've noticed just being a single mother, I'm not a single mother anymore, but I still have that same, I still know what it feels like. And one of the things that I noticed was when I'm in the room with single mothers, a lot of the things that come up is the people that are around you, that influence you. And for me, I love people, and I had to learn that not everybody feels the same way.
Yeah.
And it really, at times it would break my heart. And I'd be like, why? Why is this? And, I learned, and then I started to seek more wisdom, which helped me balance it out. So Maya Angelou, if someone shows you who they are, believe them, right? And paying attention to how do I feel around this person? Do I leave feeling lit up, or do I leave being, feeling let down? And also your vibe attracts your tribe. So I went in the direction of meditation and deeper spiritual exploration. And what was interesting is those people that were not so supportive, or just maybe not the best for me, started to taper off. And it was less communication. So it was almost like God and the universe just kind of weeded out the people that weren't really going to be of service in my journey. And again, when you look at relationship, any type of relationship, there's a beginning and an end. Even though we like to think that things go on forever, they don't. And so whenever you transition or pivot to something, there is a chance that you're going to lose some people in the way, but you're also going to gain. And so I gained a lot of great people in my life. My mentor is 78 years young, and she's amazing. And I've known her for the duration of a lot of my journey. And I would gladly exchange her for some of the people that were in my life that were just doom and gloom. And one of the cool things that I realized as well is because we are creatures of commiserate, we need to be around people that kind of validate what we're going through. We have to be even more mindful of that. We're not just digging ourselves deeper, and you want to make sure you know how to get out. That person can help you get out. So sometimes I'll talk to my mom, and it's not the most high vibrational conversation, but we know how to get out of there and on that high vibrational note. So if you have people around you that you might not feel very energized around, and this goes for if you can get away from them or if you can't, it's really important that you do your best to focus on raising your vibration, starting at a 9 or 8. So if you're around those people, you might go down to a 6, but not to the very, very bottom.
Yeah.
So you want to pay attention to who you have around. And, for me, it was oh, but I knew this person from this time, but they're still doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were still doing the same thing. And it doesn't mean I can't be kosher with them, but I was very focused on not going back to the homeless shelter, going back to the motels, because when I'm in that motel, they're not there with me.
Yeah.
When I need food, they're not necessarily there, right? Or when I have a bill or something that was about to get shut off, it wasn't them that I could actually call. So just being mindful of, the people around you. And sometimes you can do this without the weight of a negative person holding you back. And so that's kind of where that comes from.
I love it. And so tell us about Wanda, specifically, if it's called Wanda, right?
Yep.
Okay, specifically not the community of it, but the financial literacy piece of it. How important was that to where you are now, Charisse?
Yeah, so to be honest, okay, I will never forget this. I was at the homeless shelter, and there was a flyer that my case manager gave to me when we would meet weekly. And all I remember from the flyer was, you will get $3,000, something like that.
Hey,
All I saw
free
was the
money,
number.
right?
And I'm like, $3,000 would change my life. And at that time, I wasn't very financially savvy. So I'm thinking, 3,000 is going to get me an apartment, and, and not in San Mateo. It's not. That's your down payment, maybe. So, but it captured my attention. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I remember, oh my gosh, I'm going back. I remember sitting in the room with the baby at the time, and the boys, they had childcare for the moms. And they were talking to us about this program. And all I was like, look, I just want my money. Like, how do I get this money? And when they were like, you need to do these classes, and we'll match for every $1 you save, we'll match $2. And I was like, okay, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Like, yes, just give it to me. And then we got into these classes where they were teaching us financial literacy. And I kid you not, everything went over my head. I was like, what's a 401k? What's a Roth? Why do I need one? Where's my money? Like, what is going on? And what was interesting was they were teaching us about very good financial tips, but I was not in that position for your tip. I didn't want your tip. I wanted the money. So then and so I was like, all right, Charisse, like, you ain't got nothing else to do. Let's just keep going. And that's when I started to actually get the gift of what Wanda created. And it really started with the goals class. And what it allowed me to do was create a vision for myself and create the goals within that vision, and then create the milestones. So before I knew it, I was actually saving money. Before I knew it, I was actually on job interviews for companies that I wanted to be at. Before I knew it, I had a little bit more extra money at the end of the month. Before I knew it, I was saying no to certain things, or I knew how to navigate and reward myself. And so then the financial information made sense, because then I had a vision for myself. So one of the things that I do talk about in my 6 steps is writing out that vision for yourself. And if anyone is interested in the goals, I have a template that I've used. I still use it to this day. It's super simple, but I got it like 10, so long ago, but it helps me with navigating my goals. I can share that with the group as well. But
thank you.
While I showed up for the money, and I talk about this often whenever Wanda has me speak, I showed up for the money, but what I got was way more than that $6,000 that they matched in my bank account. And, it was a very instrumental thing for me. So sometimes I like to think that, we're in it for something, and then something else shows up.
Yeah, you get the unexpected blessing. Yeah. The unexpected blessing. There was another one, I'm trying to write everything down. Okay, let me look over here, because I know it was something you said that made me think. There's a vibration put in the car. Oh, so for moms.
Yes.
For moms. whatever the situation is, whether they are homeless or dealing with the layoff. So there's like the family dance party and there's the raising the vibration, right? But was there anything specific that you did for yourself or you had to be mindful of because you had these little people, like as you were going through this time period?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I don't even think that the boys knew that they were homeless.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they thought they were on this adventure and there was like all these people. And that's kind of how I framed it. My mom would take me on a lot of adventures as a kid. And that's what that word adventure in this household is like, I'm ready to go.
Hey,
I grab
okay.
my kids right now and say, we're going on an adventure. Everybody's like, all right, let's do it. Where are we going? So I think that they really didn't know. But what I did learn was it was very challenging to parent through what I was dealing with. And it was a lot of space to hold. So finding those moments of laughter and fun, and we would cook a lot together. We would make meals at home. And one thing that I found really beneficial was being able to speak their love language and being able to make sure that I was as present as I possibly could because I was in survival mode.
Yeah.
And when you're in survival mode, it's like, yep, no, check, move on. And I do recall missing key milestones with the boys as they were younger because I'm like, okay, I can't go back to this. I can't put them back into that. But then when I look back, I'm like, well, they wouldn't have cared as long as we were together. So it's a really interesting thing. And I did my best to just shield them and protect them from that. But I also held on to a lot of things. And so that being able to just be with them and cook with them and speak their love language and do the things that were important to them really helped ground me until I got into a place where I knew about more vibrational stuff. And, you know, one thing we would do, or we still do, is positive say, positive play in our house. And like, it's just making sure that we create an environment. And for myself, I would do a lot of just like cleaning, to be honest. Like cleaning was like
whatever it is. We all have different outlets.
I would just, like clean. Like when everything happened with COVID, this is kind of my go-to. Like it's when I know that I'm trying to process something pretty deep. When COVID started happening, and I didn't share this part of the story, but this is probably for a whole nother conversation. I'd quit my job in February, 2 weeks after everything happened, like shut down.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself, really. I wanted to give space to what was going on because there was a lot happening. And so I started like washing cars and cleaning my house all the time.
All the time.
It was like my way of processing. So what I would do for myself is I would clean. So if you don't like cleaning, I would say find something that's therapeutic for you, whether it's journaling, whether not food. Food is, oh my gosh, that's something that I'm not kidding y'all. It was like probably the worst for me. It was like the food. And I mean, I would sleep, eat. I would just like, it was my way. So I had to find another way to do it. But if you have an animal and you want to, you know, or if you love nature, going outside and just barefoot is a really therapeutic as well. Burning candles, burning incense, running water, drinking enough water, you know, things like that. If you can find something that's therapeutic for you that is separate than your current obligation, then I would say go there and discover what that is.
So you said you're a self-taught anthropologist. For people who did not finish college or get traditional training, what do you say to them while they're on their journey? especially the people who feel like, so I didn't finish school, I can't do, or I haven't, right? What do you say to them?
Oh boy, I have
Mm-hmm.
a lot to say to that.
All
So
right.
so I went to school and went for like business administration. Who cares? Whatever. But like that's not what I'm in. But my journey didn't start because I had a traditional background.
Yeah.
So when I joined this startup, I was essentially the executive assistant to the CEO. And I remember back in college when they did like exploratory classes, or in high school, they were like, okay, figure out what you're going to be. So I went to my parents and I'm like, parents, what do you think I'm going to be? And my dad's like, you'd be a great admin. And I'm like, whatever, I'm going to do it. So then I got into it, and yes, I was great, but it just, there was something different about it. I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. So what was interesting was, so I got this job as a startup as the executive assistant to the CEO. When I got in there, they had very little processes, and they needed someone, they needed HR help essentially. So I'm like, I can do it. So I started picking up accounting and HR and like onboarding and all of these things while I'm supporting the CEO. And I learned a lot of this stuff on the job.
Yes,
Very
please listen,
non-traditional,
CDPD, on the job.
right? Non-traditional. I didn't sherm it up. I didn't
Yeah.
have like,
Okay.
I'm just like, no, I know people. I remember when the CEO asked me, what's your superpower? And I said, I have the ability to know what people need before they need it.
Right.
And that is
That's a
still my superpower.
superpower.
And I utilize that to create a good culture and then just pick up the things that I needed to know. So I studied a little bit on like, oh, how do you do this? What's the right way? And then they had an employment lawyer, so it made my job a lot easier. So it was just more of the tactical things. So that moved me forward into more jobs and more jobs. And then I ended up as a VP in my field with no traditional background in HR.
Hey, are you guys listening? I'm sorry, Charisse. Are you guys listening? This was a conversation we were having Sunday night in the group about imposter syndrome. And then I've since had quite a few sidebar chats with group members about that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, it was, what I would say is, and I've hired people as well. And so one of the things that I looked for, I remember I was going on maternity leave and I told the CEO that I was supporting as admin amongst all the other duties. I was like, I don't want to support you anymore. I'm getting you an admin. And the girl that I met, I was like, she had a project management background, not anything to do with executive assistant. And he's like, he totally vetoed her immediately. And I'm like, no, she's the one. Like, I can tell she's the one. And he ended up telling me, go get me someone with like super high credentials. So I got him the employee to Marc Jacobs. He was the EA.
Okay. All right. That didn't work.
Prestige. The dude quit in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Was gone.
It
and
was
then
not a fit.
Finally, we were able to get this girl in, and she surpassed me. It was amazing. And now she's at an amazing company at Shopify.
Wow. Wow.
I'm a strong, firm believer, especially as cultures are shifting right now, especially as you see more and more companies with CEOs that don't have traditional backgrounds. And it's literally an idea, some passion, and some funding put together, and like they're going for these things. Not to doubt yourself. And one of the things that I love is that when you're in an interview, you can position yourself as, this is who I am, and they can either take it or not.
All right.
And it is going to be your greatest accomplishment if you show up as yourself and they take it.
Yeah.
And it also is going to be your greatest accomplishment if they don't, because that was not meant for you.
It wasn't for you.
And you don't want to be in a place where you don't belong or where you don't feel appreciated. But I can tell you, I have literally the non-ist, traditionalist background ever when it comes to the work that I do. And a lot of it, and self-taught anthropology means I sat with cultures. I sat with tribes. I sat with religions. I've sat with people and I've learned, okay, observe, how does the culture respond? Different things like that. And it's really proven to be very helpful when it comes to workplace culture. It's a non-traditional approach, but culture is sort of a newish kind of thing in the workplace. And there's a lot of people that get it very, very wrong just by not knowing the basics. And I'm not even going to get into our buzzwords, inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
Situation.
I hear you.
But by being in the position that I've been in and just the things that I can speak to and my passion and also my vibration, I do a lot of work. I meditate a lot. I pray a lot. I put my vision out there a lot, and I forgive a lot. There's a lot of things that I recognize can hold me back from where I think I should be, but a lot of them are myself. One hurdle that I had to overcome was bitterness, and it was very challenging. And I could tell that I wasn't getting that good ebb and flow when I was harnessing bitterness. So forgiveness counteracts that. So learning how to forgive quickly, living your faith and speaking your truth are going to be instrumental in getting that next role. And then speaking words of positivity, affirmations, putting that out there, put your vision out there. It's going to happen. I kid you not, being in a room of single mothers where some of them were generational single mothers, and then watching them buy their first home, invest in their MBA, send their kids to college. This stuff happens to people every day. You are no exception. You are no exception. So you can do this. And another thing that I will say is never apply a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah, I love that one.
Just know that no storm can last forever. There's never been, there's no
never-ending storm. That's right.
And so you are going through a season and a storm right now, and it's going to be different for each person. And another thing that I will say, ask for help. If you need help, ask for it. Put your ego, pride aside. I had, my grandma was a very prideful woman to the point where she had a Cadillac that had no air conditioning, but in the summer she didn't want people to know, so she left the windows up.
Oh gosh, and she was hot.
And this was in the East Coast, so where you are, those
humidity,
Maryland summers. So don't let that get in your way. There are people that are willing and ready to help you. Somebody helped me. And I was like, I came with extras, and like, there are people still out there willing to do that. This is my way. This giveaway is my way. This talk is my way. Just whatever I can do is my way. Like, I can't fix everything, but I can do what I can do in my space. And I know that your situation will change and you'll be laughing before you know it.
I love it. Okay, so how did you structure yourself with the children?
So I'm what's called a little old school. And so you have two different types of households. You have a kid-ran household and you have a parent-ran household. I'm a parent-ran ran household. But I'm also very organized. So one of the things that I did, and it honestly, people are like, 5 kids, oh my gosh, it actually gets easier. It's easier when everybody is together. The hardest transition was with 3 kids because it was off. But now when I have 5, everyone entertains each other. And so what I do is I put them on a schedule and I put them on a routine. One of the best babysitters that I ever had, Mrs. Robbie, when I had my second child, she says, give them to me early. Let me help you put them on a schedule. And I will never forget that. Getting your kids on a schedule, they love that until they start to branch out. And that's usually around the puberty stages. They can kind of like sort themselves out. But even now, my sons love the schedule. My oldest one's like, whatever. That way, their personalities will tell you. So I put them on a schedule. And that tends to look like, just like I write it out. This is what we're doing during these times. And I do my best to bring in a lot of interaction. And towards the end of the night, we do like a wrap up. I try and involve them in as much as possible. So the work that I do, I'll have them read over a website that I'm working on, or I'll ask them questions like, so I have this client that, you know, such and such. And I said, what would you do? So I tend to involve them in what I'm doing. One of our newest things that we do is we play pretend Chopped, like the show where you do something and get, so we make food, and then when they eat, we get their critiques on it. So we try and like just keep it light. And I'm also very honest with them as well. I tell them, hey, this is what's going on, but it's not because of you. I am stressed out, but it's not because of you. That's something that I learned, because when I was going through a lot of the stuff at the homeless shelter, they wouldn't understand why I was sad or upset, and they would somehow try and fix it.
Yeah.
So I learned later on, like, this is not for you to take on. This is my thing. You are doing wonderful. And so just reassuring that. But I get them on a schedule. I speak their love language, so I'm able to like schedule like dates with them, and we game together. Family that games together, play together. It's like our thing. And I just try and balance my day as well. So I don't believe in the word busy, because that means I don't have room for you. So I make sure my schedule is open for them. And I keep looking up here because I wrote down my priorities, which is my spirituality, God, family, and then business. And that really helps me make sure that I'm giving them the attention that they need. And so I'm not deciding or having to decide. And if I know that I'm making a decision out of fear, I know that's low vibrational, and that's usually the results that I'm going to get. So I try and make sure to debunk my fears. You know, what is the worst that can happen if this happens? How would I navigate? Who would I go to? So I do a lot of that kind of thinking in the mindful space of the, when no one else is around. I'm like, how am I going to make this work?
Okay, Charisse, you're uplifting me. Yes, I have all these great things. I live for some affirmations. They are everything. Essentially, when you're in a downward slope, the fair-weathered acquaintance feels superior, but loves it. Oh, they love it when you're supposedly beholden. Trust your inner voice. Okay. Yes, definitely. Listening. Okay. Let me ask you, I have two more. Oh, someone says 5 children is my situation, and we haven't transitioned from the sudden homeschooling. We used to have a daily schedule, and that all went downhill. So how old are the children? All of them? You have 5. How they range from youngest? Or
16, 13, almost 10, 5, and a year and a half.
Wow. Whew. Okay. All right. You have them at every stage, including Pampers. Yeah. All right. Diapers. So can you, you guys, if you have a question, drop it. You know that there's a lag in the live between Facebook and us. So I might miss one. So I have one more just because of that, and then I'll ask you my 3, and then we'll wrap. Okay. So either can you tell us some, or maybe you can send them to me, some books that you read that helped you on your journey, even if it's now or in the past or whatever.
Absolutely. Okay. So. And
you can give them to me later, because
I'm looking over here because there's some over there.
They're right there. Okay.
So there are 2 that are very big that stand out for me. This is going to be this. I can't believe I'm actually saying this out loud, but there's this book called Leo, the Late Bloomer. And it's about this lion that doesn't bloom or get his mane or do all the other things that the kids do. Like, he's not talking and he's not coloring and he's not doing these things. And throughout the book, his dad's like, what's wrong with him? And his mom's like, nothing. He's going to be fine in his own time. And the story goes on. And finally, Leo blooms. He gets his mane and he's talking and he's drawing and all these things. And when I was younger, that book resonated with me because I was not only different, but I just had this, I didn't really fit in. And I was like, why? What is wrong with me? And so this book really resonated with me. And where it comes up in my life now is I now honor the fact that everything will come in my own time. I now see that with more perspective and wisdom that I have. I didn't back then, and it wasn't funny at all. But now, and I actually have this book in my area, and it just reminds me that when I see everybody else doing all of these things, and I'm just like trying to figure out how to use a keyboard, like in my own time, I will develop, I will blossom, I will bloom, and it will shine. And so that's one of the books that I think is really key. And if there are any parents listening, I highly recommend reading that book to your kids. The other book that was so cool and key for me was The Motivational Manifesto. Now,
I'm listening to that one right now.
Yes, Brendan Bouchard. I've read this book 3 times, and each time that I've read it, I've been in a different space in my life. And it's not a self-help book, but it's like a self-revealing book. And one of the big things that resonated with me was fear. And he talks a lot about fear, and it just helps you kind of dismantle some of the stories that were told or given to you, or labels or whatever. This book is so instrumental. And I can't mention a book without throwing up the Bible. So this is not about religion. This is not about, that bit there, but I kid you not, if I go through Proverbs, just so much wisdom. Like, don't waste wise words on a fool. That has saved me so many times. And so I incorporate the Bible in a lot of the stuff that I look to for guidance. And it's not a ritualistic thing. Again, it's very spiritual for me, but that's a book that really has helped me navigate questions and just dive in a little bit deeper. And just some of these stories in the Bible are pretty lit. So I'm just like, oh
this is true.
So it's very interesting to read. And I don't question whether it's true or not, because we do listen to methodical stories and fairy tales and stuff. So for me, it's not about that. It just really anchors my spiritual belief and walk. So those are the 3 books that I would recommend. But for job seekers, also the 60 Seconds, which if you guys want that book, I'll send it out to you guys.
Okay, so I have Charisse. Okay, so Rhonda's children are 13, 9, 11, and 5-year-old twins. So she has 5. She says 5 children. Okay, so then she says, Charisse, you are awesome. You help me out with structure. I need to get things back to order. We are very invested in structure, and right now we need to find that back. I guess get that back. Okay, so my questions are, all right, so Corona Daze Professional Development Group is part of our mission is that we serve marginalized groups of people, right? And that we've created a space and a place for marginalized groups to feel safe, to get access to training, to have access to people like yourself, to network, and just to enhance themselves personally and professionally. Would you consider yourself to be a marginalized person? And if so, would you mind telling us how? Do I need to give some examples of marginalized? So, okay.
Give me an example.
So for us, we say you can be marginalized by class, socioeconomic status, race, gender, sexual identification. She knocked me off my seat last week and said, yeah, I was marginalized. She's a white woman. I was marginalized because I was always told to be quiet in the workplace. All right. So however, and I love these different examples of how you are not part of the status quo mainstream. So you don't have the access that the status quo mainstream has, and you're marginalized by something, or maybe not. Or maybe not. I have every access. I'm privileged. I'm not marginalized at all.
Okay. So I'm going to sound a little woo-woo.
It's okay.
By classification, yes, but I will not wear that label.
All right. I love it.
Guys, so by classification, yes, but I will not own that label. I will not, that's very low vibrational.
Okay.
And to fall into that story would be a disservice because, you know, when I think about one of the weird things that just, I sometimes think about that, I don't know, I'm just going to bring this up.
Go ahead.
So when I go through really, really challenging days, or I'm really doubting myself, or something really negative happens to me, and I'm trying to process stuff, I do this, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm even sharing it, but I am.
All right.
I will say to myself, if I had Oprah, Tony Robbins, or Bill Gates in my phone right now, and I knew that they cared and loved me, would I be worried about this? And my answer is usually no.
No.
I wouldn't. I'd be like, Oprah, like, come get me, help me.
Yeah.
And I think about this, and this is the bigger scope of our lives, is the three of them combined together cannot control their next breath.
No.
Like they are just humans like me. And I think about that and I'm like, okay, well then where do I go? Go to the source. And I just, while my classification could be looked at as marginalized, I will not fall into that story. I will not answer to the label that is given or told to me. I have worn labels before, and they just dim your light, dim your soul, and they make you question, and you go through a tremendous process of having to come out of that. And a lot of people are going through that. Just some of them, you know, some people, you know, you can be free and still live in bondage.
Yeah,
right?
This is true. I think
those are the things that, you know, I pay attention to. And I think, you know, it's, you know, I'm on the mission to help reframe words, but can I hold space for this group? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I understand what struggles have happened? Absolutely. I just know saying I am is very key to anything that follows after. So I'm very mindful of what I say.
am. Okay.
You know, I am. It better be something high vibrational, else we got some work to do. So that's just where I personally am with it. But yes.
All right. I love it. We have to have another discussion on that one day too. Then my next question is, so I'm not going to ask you your age, but I will just say, what would you say to the 21-year-old Charisse Fonts, who probably had a different name then, right?
Yes,
Okay, what would you say to her when she was unmarried? And, you know, even if she had children or didn't have children, when she was, you know, hitting these streets to work, well, you know what I mean, getting out there, what would you tell her? What would you want her to know that you know now?
First of all, my 20s were a hot mess. So I'm so glad that I'm not in my 20s right now. I would say that perspective changes everything, and seek as much wisdom as you possibly can.
I love to seek as much wisdom as you possibly can. I don't know why I write. I like to write the words, but I will rewatch this live about 5 times. I'm old school. I'm 46. Okay, so there was no click, 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 click. We took notes, and if you didn't take notes, you got it. Okay, all right. Yeah. So, speak, Charisse. Speak on it, sis. I am limitless. Okay, so my final is sort of a question. What would you like to leave us with today? It could be something you've already said, or it could be something that it could be something that you've already said and you want us to take this as your one takeaway, or it could be something that you have not said to us yet.
The chance that you are here right now on this earth, alive, breathing, looking at me, listening to me, is 1 in 4 trillion. It's a big number. The fact that you are here the fact that your circumstance is the way that it is, it's not by accident. You have a divine, deep purpose. And I encourage you to start chasing your purpose. Live your life on purpose. Yes, you can work a job that's going to pay what you need to make to cover your bills and live a certain lifestyle, but you'll be in survival mode. And yes, you can get that next title, that promotion, that corner office, and you can feel like you're in success mode. But ultimately, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, I want something more significant. I want to move into transcendence. Start there. Chase that. Because if you can cover your significance and your transcendence, you wipe away the need to be successful or the status of successful and the innate drive for survival. It's all taken care of. And so live your life on purpose, seek wisdom, go bold, go big. You got this. I know you do. I know you got this because I know what humans are capable of. We are capable of amazing things. And if someone has spoken negative on your life, that's just a reflection of what they got for them. They cannot give what they do not have. Mm-hmm. So light, love, and gratitude on your journey. I am rooting for you. You got this. And thank you so much for holding space and listening.
Oh gosh, you got me so emotional. Thank you, Charisse. Let me see. We took notes, and I love to take notes. Energy. I love Charisse's energy. What I wouldn't do to have a consultation with her. She is living. Well, yes, free but still in bondage. Okay, so what I'm going to say to all you CDPD members is Charisse told us about giveaways. However, I'm going to put a smack down on this because we want the good stuff, but you all have to do something to get it. Okay, so Charisse, I'm just going to ask you not to give anybody anything unless they contact you via LinkedIn.
Okay.
Okay.
Deal.
So if you want a giveaway, you're going to have to connect with Charisse. You're going to have to tell her you're a CDPD member and you saw her talk and tell her something, right, about her talk, and then talk about the giveaway. Okay. Don't just say, hey, I'm a CDPD member, I want the giveaway. Tell her something that you took away from this presentation. She's very busy. Remember, she's a mom of 5 children. She has her own business and a bunch of little side hustles that she's hustling, okay? So she has a lot going on. And to give us over an hour now, almost an hour and 20 minutes is major, okay? So I want you guys to get connected with her and let her know how this time that she gave blessed your life, okay? When can Charisse come back? Ask her that when you connect with her on LinkedIn, and then you will post it up in the group and tell us Charisse is willing to come back this time, okay? I loved it. I love it. Thank you so much, Charisse. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Jeanette. Yes, I love this. I'm so lit up. I can't see anybody, but I can just feel the good vibes. And I just love that. And just, again, thank you, light, love, and gratitude. And I look forward to connecting with the group on LinkedIn and coming back.
All right. Well. And we will host you whenever you're ready. I appreciate you, sis. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too. All right. Bye.